Welcome to HTMi Hospitality TV. Today we're at the beautiful Baur Hotel in Zürich, one of the leading hotels of the world, speaking with Mr. Wilhelm Luxem, the general manager of this fine property. Mr. Luxem, thank you very much for inviting us into your beautiful hotel.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, especially on such a wonderful day.
It is glorious weather. So, with almost 170 years of luxury and of course tradition plays a very important part in the Baur history. What do you think is the biggest challenge today for luxury hotels like the Baur in the 21st century?
I would say the challenge hasn't really changed. The challenge for a luxury hotel, I think, has always been to be in its time. And of course, for a hotel with a long history, it's very important that the history is not understood as a collection of nice memories, but rather as a foundation on which you build the future. The future means the way you deliver your luxurious service to the clientele of our days. And of course, people that come to a luxurious hotel have very high expectations, and they always had. But the way they define their expectations, the way they express them, they will always change, and they will be always in the context of its time. So our challenge, to answer your question, is how can we adapt and how should we adapt to these challenges all the time?
So within this new contemporary world that we're living in, the luxury traveler is changing. How does a hotel like the Baur, with 170 years of history, how do you maintain your competitive advantage, and what challenges do you have regarding the marketing of such a property?
Well, the competitive advantage of this hotel, first of all, is of course not only its tradition, but also its very special location and its continuity. It's the long serving staff, it's the very special expression of our services. This all is to be taken as a taken, yeah. But it will not last if we don't develop it into the future, which means the hotel in its appearance should not change, but at the same time it has to adapt. That means you have to invest continuously in technology, and the Baur has always been very strong when it comes to technology. We have always been in our time. So when it comes to not only wireless LAN, but the whole back of house and the behind the scene technology, that's very important. But in a hotel like the Baur, you don't want to see it. You want to feel it's there. You want to be assured you can use it when you need it. You want to be sure everything that is technology related in the hotel, all the way up to air conditionings and functioning systems, it works, and it works easily and simply. You don't want to bother your guests with complicated technology. Even so, technology may be complicated, but it's complicated behind the scene.
Correct.
I think that's very important, that you don't overwhelm the atmosphere with technology. It's just there.
Within Zurich, you're competing with a couple of other five-star luxury hotels and a few other leading hotels of the world. How do you think you differentiate yourself from your direct competitors?
I think each of the other leading hotels of the world that are in Zurich have their own distinguished personality. And the Baur has its personality that has grown over the years, and in that way our competitive edge is our uniqueness in a way. And at the same time, we are fishing in the same market in many ways. So I think the art in that context is to stick to yourself and not trying to do everything. Do best what you can do best. And I think that's a good way to carry on. And for a hotel, it's always good to have competition. And for a city like Zurich, it's very good to have competition in a way that it broadens the market. And if a city like Zurich has 3 leading hotels of the world, that means it's a great destination, and there is something for every taste. And when people ask me what is our mix of leisure and business, I'm always a little bit in trouble to clearly answer this question, because our clientele, of course, may, from a first glance of view, be majorly business oriented, but at the same time they are very independent people. So they would always have a mixture of reasons why they come to Zurich and stay at the Baur Lac. While they may have business commitments here, they will always combine it with leisure, with culture, with shopping, and meeting friends, and just enjoy the city.
So what percentage would you say is your repeat customers compared to new customers within the hotel?
It's far over 50%. Again, it depends how you define. If I say repeat customers, I'm not talking about those guests who come once a year or every 2 years. A repeat customer for us is someone who comes every month, some of them every week. So there's a very high frequency of our regular customers, and this kind of regular customers, we are over 50%. So it's a very high loyalty. So, some of them in third and fourth generations, right, in fact, are with us.
So what do you do to actually maintain that guest loyalty?
Make them happy. A happy guest is more likely to come back than an unhappy guest. Anticipate their needs, and of course a regular guest, and especially if it is a family that has been coming to your hotel for many years, maybe for generations, you know the whole family. You know exactly their do's and their dislikes. Yeah, so you can perfectly cater to them, because you cannot say this is the formula, the perfect formula to make every guest happy. There is a very individualized formula to every guest, and the more you know your guests, the better you understand your guests, the more you can make sure they are leaving as happy customers. So in that way, I think your best marketing is invest into your guests, not in glossy magazines, but into your guests in a way that you really care for them in a very personalized way.
Having long-standing staff, would you say they're even more important than the computers, because they know the faces of the guest, they know the names, they have the computers within their brains?
Well, computers, like any other tools, are very important and make our life easier, but they are tools. What makes a hotel, a service industry special is the people. We are dealing with people on both sides, the guests and the staff, and the computer can never deliver a personalized service, but a computer can help us to personalize it in a way that he sort of enhances our brain. So in the way that we recognize and we memorize everything that we should know about the guest. But the information itself to be accumulated is one thing, but to interpret it and to utilize it intelligently, that's the art. And to be able to do this, you need the right people, because if you have just a very unexperienced young person and you put him or her in front of a computer with all this information about the guest, he may not know what to do with all this information.
Correct.
It's
so
the people that make the difference.
Touch.
It's the human touch.
So what does the Baur Lac do good that keeps staff here for so many years?
We think long term. The hotel is a family business, and as a family business you don't think in quarters and in years, you think in decades and in generations. That's from an owner's point of view, and that of course reflects automatically also in the whole philosophy of this enterprise. The staff is treated like a member of the family. They're here, they're serving the company, they're very dedicated to the company, and they're treated well. And they're not sent away because they become too expensive after 10 years and are replaced by maybe a less expensive junior. No, we see this as a very important investment in the quality of a hotel to look after our staff.
Would you say that the modern luxury traveler has changed as opposed to the older luxury traveler from the past?
I think when it comes to expectation, it has not really changed. Someone who came 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago into a luxury hotel, he would always have been and will also be in the future someone who has a high standing of living. He can afford to live in a luxurious hotel, and therefore he has high expectations. his expectations, of course, may change in a way that 10 years ago he would not have expected a wireless LAN and a flat screen TV. But these are only, I wouldn't say gimmicks, but technical aspects. What I think a client in a luxury hotel always expected is this personal touch, this personal attention. And this will not really change. It will always be in a different context, because people, times, societies change. Maybe today we are living in societies they're much more informal than a decade or 2 decades ago. And this, of course, a luxurious hotel like the Baur had to adapt as well. You know, it's no longer the jacket and the tie that may be a detrimental aspect in a restaurant. It's the style that defines the atmosphere. So in this way, yes, you adapt, you change, but has the client really changed? I would say no.
Finally, I'd like to ask you, what are your thoughts about the future of the luxury 5-star industry?
It's greater than ever. I think the need for sophisticated hotels is very high. I wouldn't always use the word luxury, because luxury is defined differently by many people differently. But if a definition of luxury is comfort, freedom, time, quality in any aspect, quality of the furniture, quality of the facilities, quality of the technical equipment, quality of the staff and the service they deliver. In that respect, I think luxury hotels have a great future. And in a time where we have a lot of products that are very anonymized, where a lot of things are unpersonal, I think the need for personal touches, for personal care and attention is higher than ever. In that sense, I have no hesitation to assure you that there will be luxury hotels around for a long time to go. Yeah.
But do you foresee any major trends happening within the future?
I don't think we will have revolutions, but we will have a lot of evolution. For the Baur, we have seen evolution over, I would say, the entire existence of the hotel. There was always evolution. I quite often go through the historical books and documents of the hotel, and luckily we have a lot of old documents, and you can see there was a lot of foresight in the early days. You know, today, of course, warm and cold water is something normal, but there was times when this was an absolute outstanding additional comfort. To offer this electric light was an absolutely innovative thing in a hotel. Having its own garage at a time when most people were still traveling by horse. An absolute genius idea. The Baur until today has his own garage and pump station. Sounds a little bit out of time, but there was times when this was absolutely great. So I think evolution, always adapt to the very needs of your clients in the time in which you live.
Thank you very much for the time. It's been a real pleasure meeting.
It's been my pleasure.
With
Thank you. Thank you very much.